is no shortage of castles, palaces, manor homes, royal history, current royalty, and really pretty fancy things here in Denmark. I had been hoarding a piece of decoupage paper from ReDesign called The Princess, and I'd had it forever, and I just hadn't found the right project. And after all of the history that I've experienced here in and outside of Copenhagen, I knew that I wanted to use that paper on this very humble bench that I scored on Facebook Marketplace. First thing I did was made some trim with paper clay and a mold from Iron Orchid Designs, and then I attached that trim with some wood glue. So the back of the bench is an old headboard, and it is not real wood. It is actually a laminate over a press board. So I did have to do a little bit of prep, most of which I did on the DIY paint page live, and that included cleaning and giving it a light sanding. I started with a base coat of DIY paint Little Black Dress. Idea for the overall design for the bench, and I knew approximately where I was going to place my decoupage paper, and so I decided that I wanted a lighter area in the center of the bench. I gotta tell you, blending the really dark, which is the Little Black Dress and some layered chocolate, into the lighter colors, which are a mix of sandy blonde, crinoline, and faded burlap, was a little difficult for me and was a little bit of a challenge. So I just kept going until I got something that I liked and knew that I could fix it once I got the paper on. So once all my paint was dry, it was time to attach my decoupage paper. I had done a dry fit, so I knew kind of where I wanted to put it, and then I just taped it on the back to hold it into place while I used my DIY paint Crystal Clear Chandelier Liquid Patina as my glue to attach my paper. Used a little roller and my hands to smooth out the bulk of the wrinkles, but I really wasn't going for any kind of perfection. And then I threw on another coat of the liquid patina. After everything was dry, I used my sandpaper to get a nice crisp edge. To look like my decoupage paper just stopped in the middle of my project. So here I'm using some of the lighter colors, the crinoline, some sandy blonde, a little faded burlap, to kind of go over that edge there and fade that into the rest of the paint. I did the same thing on the other side of the decoupage paper. I didn't want that hard line, so I'm using my Little Black Dress and some layered chocolate and just feathering that over the paper itself and back out into the paint, and that gives the illusion that the decoupage paper is part of the overall design and not just stuck there in the middle of the project. Once I was finally happy with the way the blending looked, I used a dry brush technique, which is having just a teeny tiny bit of paint on an otherwise dry brush, and I went over the seam and some of the lighter color just to tie everything together and make it look cohesive. where the fun part comes in, where I get to add all of the little design elements that bring it all together. So first I use the Kindest Regards stamp from IOD and some IOD ink in the color Turmeric. Here I'm using a stencil, which I have no idea where I got it from, and golden ticket in a swirly motion just to lightly place that stencil on there. After I was happy with where everything was placed, I used I Love Hue paint, Mystic Shell in flat to seal everything up. Then let it dry really, really well before adding my transfer. This is the Astoria Foliage Transfer from Iron Orchid Designs. It is a paintable transfer, although I chose not to paint mine. I just used it in the black and white. The key to transfers is to have a lot of patience. You just really need to go slow and take your time. I cut my transfer up so I can use the parts and pieces and nothing goes to waste. So I even used little tiny bits and pieces to fill in where I felt like I needed a little bit more. And then any part of the transfer that I didn't use, I'll save and use for another project. After burnishing the transfer and then giving it just a very light sanding, it was time to seal it up since I was happy with the placement of everything. Again, I used I Love Hue paint, Mystic Shell Topcoat in flat. So for the seat of my bench, I used just a portion of the white Fleurs Transfer from ReDesign with Prima. A full list of supplies that I used for this project can be found in the description box below. If you have any questions at all on anything I have done in this video, leave them in the comments below and I will be sure to answer. For the back of the bench, we actually layered the transfers over the stencil and the stamping. This time for the seat, I layered the stencils and some stamps over the transfer. And then I once again used the dry brush technique so that the transfer didn't look like just a sticker in the middle of my project. To paint the remaining portions of the bench, I used little black dross and layered chocolate kind of side by side on my brush so that I had some varying dimensions of color. And for some finishing touches, I actually used a little bit of golden ticket mixed with a little bit of layered chocolate to create more of a bronze color. And I just dry brushed that on different parts of the bench, like the trim to accentuate that, the top part of the bedposts, and along the apron of the bench and a couple other places. Lastly, I chose DIY paint in clear wax to finish up the remaining painted portions of the bench. I'm not entirely convinced that the bench is completely finished because I have an idea of my mind of something else that I'd really like to try. However, for right now, I'm going to call it done. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and you can see the ongoing saga of the bench and see if I decide to do something else with it. And cheers, you made it through my video. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. And if you're so inclined, hit that like button, and subscribe if you want to. Thank you so much. Bye.